Okay, I think we're here, everybody. Capt Ron here, and I'm absent of any of my technical support here. First Officer Dieter is somewhere in Canada without internet, and so he left me alone at the controls here. So if we have any complaints, we'll start with him since he left me hanging out here. But anyway, we got a little bit of a show tonight to share with you, and I'll just open with the slides like I normally do, and we'll get the show on the road, and then we have some special guests tonight. So here we go. Let me open this up and oh, 1 second. Bear with me, everybody. I have to. Okay, and I will share my screen. Okay, back with you. Capt Ron here. As I said, this is our weekly Fearless Flight weekly live show on Facebook for anybody who has a fear of flying. Somebody you know, somebody who's afraid to fly, if you're just fascinated by airplanes like me and a lot of the people around us. So you come to the right place, and welcome tonight. We have a Facebook group that we encourage people. If you're not a member, please consider joining. You can go over there at the link, flf.link/BOF for Birds of a Feather. And you can become a member of our private Birds of a Feather Facebook group, which is a great resource for people who are just starting out or people who are well into overcoming their flight anxiety. So leave a message if you're watching us live, or if you're watching the replay, feel free to leave a message there and get some chatter going on the internet. Tonight we're gonna basically debrief our graduation flight there. We have some special guests that are going to share their experiences with that and how they've come so far. I'll do a quick ad for the live monthly group coaching session that we do on the third Thursday of every month. And of course, we always welcome your questions there. So, okay. First thing, this month, we're going to take advantage of all the uncertainty and the stories that we've had out there about the air traffic control. I just saw an interesting video today I'm going to use for the basis of my research there. And you know, if you're tired of feeling anxious every time you board a plane, or struggle with fear of losing control when you're flying, this month we're going to do a deep dive into proven strategies to help you regain a sense of empowerment and calm when you travel. And we're going to talk about we always talk about the psychological and biological roots of the fear of losing control, and we'll teach you how to reframe negative thoughts and regain confidence in yourself and in flight. And then we'll give you some techniques to balance your emotional, that is your elephant brain, as we refer to it, and your logical brain, known as the rider. We'll do some practical exercises and teach you how to do distance self-talk. We'll have a couple of guided visualizations, and we'll talk, as we always do, about breathing. So the main goal, of course, is to build your resilience over time and learn how to celebrate small victories and not get discouraged. We'll have some breakout room activities where you get to meet each other, meet people just like you, and I think you'll enjoy it. So use that link to join with us. And so again, what every flyer should know about airspace and safety, we're gonna talk about that. And you can sign up here at this link here, flf.link/monthly-webinar. And we're looking forward to that. So we had a flight over the weekend, and I am going to kill the slideshow here. And oops, I got to stop my share. And tonight we have a couple of people. We actually have three people here. We have Carissa Goprek and Gary Rodriguez, who were bold enough to join me tonight and talk about their experiences. And so we're going to do that for a little bit and wind things up and send you on your way. So if you want, Carissa and Gary, you can unmute and turn on your video there so everybody can see your smiling faces. Hey, Gary, nice to see you again. And our special guest, the fellow there who's growing a new tooth there, Grayson. How are you, Grayson?
Hi.
How about you? We'll let you start out here. You had your first airplane ride ever, was it? What was that like for people out there who have never ever flown in an airplane? What was the biggest surprise?
The biggest surprise was we went all the way above the clouds. I thought we were going like touching the clouds. I thought we were touching the clouds on the
Yeah,
ceiling. But
yeah.
we're going all the way up into the clouds instead.
So you didn't know we could actually go above them, huh?
Yeah, I didn't know you could go like high as that. I
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah,
airplanes can go that high.
yeah. Were you ever nervous or afraid or anything?
Nah, no.
Nah, you didn't. You look like you were a rock. Mom was probably saying, "Give me some of that." You were there to support your mom, weren't you?
Yep.
Yeah. How did she do?
Good.
Yeah, she did a good job, didn't she? Didn't she? So anyway, okay. So when I'll throw this out to both Gary and Carissa here. What was the moment or experience that made you say, "I got to get help with this"? Gary, I'll throw it to you first.
Thanks.
We won't tell everybody what a tough guy you are in every other area of your life, right? You eat fear for breakfast.
Yeah, I used to, I guess. Yeah, so yeah, I'll rat myself out. It's kind of because it's embarrassing. I used to, I was a firefighter for 34 years. So I go into burning buildings. I've been in lots of dangerous situations, but
Yeah.
getting on a plane freaks me out. So, remind me what your first question was. I'm sorry.
Well, it's just like, what made you why did you
Oh,
decide when you did, that hey, I'm going to get some help on this.
so you know what? For me, everyone's got a different thing that kind of triggers them. But for me, it's the anticipation of getting on an airplane,
Yeah.
anticipatory anxiety. So I used to fly and it never really bothered me. I should say it never really bothered me, but it didn't get to the extreme that it did the one time. My wife planned a trip for us to go to her dad's house in Boise, Idaho, for me and my sons, and had this trip planned. And for whatever reason, for 2 weeks prior to that, I could not think of anything. I couldn't turn this off.
Yeah.
And I ended up like a few days before the trip saying I can't go.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was so freaked out, and I didn't have any coping mechanisms. And it's like, why is this happening? And
Sure.
that's that thinking is what got me to start coming to your class.
Okay. And if I heard right, it's like to me, it's one thing if you had never flown or you had a bad experience, something like that. But to fly and then not to fly is probably one of the most mysterious things that I've seen. And I see you nodding your head, Chris. Or is that something you could identify with, or?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, for me, I flew quite a bit
Yeah.
when I was younger, and then for whatever reason, I was flying one day, had a panic attack on a plane, and I have no clue of where it came from, but I stopped flying for a while. Went to a couple of your classes, and then I started flying again. But it was just that like entrapped kind of
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just I can't get off, and I kind of just said that was enough, and I didn't go any further with it. And time has gone by, and I've missed out on being able to go visit family. And then when Grayson was born, and now he's 6, almost 7 years old, and not having him.
And 3/4.
Yeah.
3/4.
Don't forget the 3/4, man.
Yeah, don't forget that. Then I'll be just 6 and
Yeah.
that's it.
Big news. When you have 2 digits and one of them is a 7 and one of them is an 8, you don't worry about the 3/4 near as much, I've noticed. So, yeah, that's a good point. So for both of you, it got to the point where it sounds like, you just said, I got other stuff I want to do with my life, and flying makes it easier to some degree and all that. So what I found with most people like the two of you is that whatever it is that triggers your mind and hijacks it, whatever captures thought, it's just the problem is you just can't quit thinking about it. And then back that up one more step. Now you start thinking about it. And that's why both of you, I think, shared with me. I know Gary and I were talking during the flight there about how the anticipatory anxiety is just what drives them crazy. And I'm not telling you anything, but what is that? What kind of thoughts go through your mind when does it start, and what's the focus when you start to notice that it's bothering you?
For me?
Who are you asking? Go ahead.
Either one. Yeah, go ahead, Krissa.
When does it start? So when I'm honestly with this last flight, I probably started a lot later, starting to get the anxiety. With the anticipation of the flight. It was probably only a few days.
Okay. Was that an improvement over before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big improvement.
Do you have anything you can attribute that to?
Well, I started reading your book. I did your class. We had our one-on-one call, and I was listening to the harmonizer. I'm sure all of that helped.
Yeah.
And then probably just the excitement of taking Grayson on his first flight too.
Yeah. And for people out there, they'll ask me, I got young kids, what's that like? And I say, well, it can be an advantage if they're, because they have needs and stuff, and they don't really care whether you're anxious about flying or not. And so did you find that true? It was a little bit of an assist having him there?
Definitely. I was worried it was going to be, make it worse because you have to take care of them, but it made it better for me.
Yeah. And Gary, I know you and I were talking about what really bugs you was the fact that you can't quit thinking about it. And
so what's funny is that prior to, well, the first time I flew with you, which was just a little over a year ago. Prior to that, I hadn't flown in 8 years.
Yeah.
And I think that, probably before that flight, I was probably about 2 weeks out,
Yeah.
getting a little sketchy, not super bad, but the closer it gets, then I can't, then it's full bore. And then, but in my mind, um, I think a couple things. Number one, the night before I didn't sleep worth a darn. I didn't sleep at all. I just tossed, turning, and can't, I call my mind the committee. I couldn't shut the committee off. But before the first time I flew with you, I just told myself, I don't give a what. I'm going down to that airport, even if I get on the plane and get off. I'm going down there. I don't care. So, because you've always given me the whatever, the grace or whatever, the permission, like, hey, if it's not your time and you can even get on the plane and get off, that's a step forward.
Yeah.
So I just said, I don't care. I'm just going to get on. But once I got down there and I started talking to everyone, I guess it distracted me or whatever. And I'm telling you, you flew with me that time. The flying doesn't bother me. It's the weirdest thing.
Right.
I don't mind the turbulence. We had a little turbulence from Arizona or whatever. I like taking off. I mean, I kind of, I don't mind it. It's the weirdest thing. It's just the process of getting onto the plane. So this time, so it's only been a little bit over a year, and I've been trying to, line up stuff so I can just take little practice flights, you know,
Sure.
but it gets expensive, and then I'm like, God, do I want to just fly to Vegas and back, just, for
Just to prove I
practice?
can fly to Vegas and back.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, and then one great thing about this class, I have a cold, so sorry. But one good thing about this class is that you meet other people, and so
Yeah.
I'm friends with Ollie, who's in the same business as I'm in, and we keep telling each other, hey, let's just, a couple of us fearless flyers, let's just go and take a quick little flight over to Vegas or whatever, and fly back. And so we've been trying to line that up, and then this last group that we flew with, we all got a little text thread, and we're all kind of supporting each other. And it's the same thing like with Trey. Trey's he's my buddy. He's funny because
Yeah. Yeah.
we met in this class, and he's just like, hey, let's, I go, hey, let's just continuous, even if it's, once every, twice a year or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's, when the prices are cheap, let's do that.
Yeah.
So, but this time I want to say that instead of 2 weeks out, it was maybe a week out.
Yeah.
I went through the same process again. I didn't sleep the night before, worth a darn. One thing I will tell you that, um, when I get, like the anxiety going, it really affects my stomach. So I get the
Yeah.
nervous stomach, and I feel like, oh God, so I get that. So one thing I do, and this might help someone, I don't eat a big breakfast the night
Yeah.
before. I don't eat real heavy. I got up in the morning, I had a banana and a little water, and that was it. And I took a couple Pepto-Bismol, because I wanted to settle my stomach down. And
Sure.
then I don't, I don't want to feel like, oh God, on top of everything else, like I had to throw up or something. But once again, once I got on the airplane, or, once I got there and started talking, and then started talking to all the other people, we're all in the same boat, and we're all supporting each other. It's kind of a cool thing that you're holding each other up, so to speak. And then
Yeah.
with Faye sitting next to me, she's grabbing my arm. It's kind of funny. And that distracted me too. And
Yeah.
one last thing I'll say is that that app that Southwest has, where you can track the plane, and it says
Yeah.
how long, that's really cool because
Their flight progress
right.
graph. Yeah.
And I kept showing Faye, look at 20 more minutes. Oh, look at 15 more. And she's like, that really calmed her down. And like I said, I didn't mind the flight at all. I wasn't not anxious at all
Yeah.
there or back, but it was just the week before. And I don't, so you're the expert. You tell me why my mind does that. I don't know.
If I knew, man, I wouldn't be here. I'd be off in the Riviera spending all the money from telling people that. It is, and and I'm nobody's immune from it. There's things in my life that once you start thinking about them, it's just like that. So what if I heard you correctly? Just it wasn't as bad as it was the last time. I mean, well, let me put it this way. I thought I heard you say that it started a little bit closer to the flight, where you really got amped up. I know when you came to when we talked the day before, you called me and said, gosh, how do I get past this and stuff? And I said, I really don't know. Just come to the airport. And so,
Right.
did you have any doubts to yourself, Krissa, as you got the night before, anything like that, or was it
Yeah.
easier? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started to think about myself getting on the plane and
Yeah.
then thinking, oh no, like what if I am halfway in flight, and just like the worries,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah.
And the halfway in the flight wasn't necessarily a mechanical problem, was it? It's what halfway, what if I just can't stand it anymore?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's clearly a trend that I've seen in the last 37 years, because 37 years ago there were more fears about the airplane not making it or something like that. But clearly a majority of the people, I'm talking 75, 85% of the people now reflect the same things that you and Gary reflect. And that is, I'm just worried about my own ability to withstand the feelings that come up on that. And it's worse. And then if you have something that corroborates that, like an upset stomach, nausea, or things like that, or just in general, you feel your heart beating faster and things like that. That's the hard part about doing this. It's the doggone biology that just reminds you, and everything's working the way it's supposed to. It's just overdoing it, you know. And you know, it's like if you wanted to go on a diet, you can't quit eating. You know, if you want to go flying, you can't quit thinking, and it makes it really hard there. So. How about you, Carissa? Once we got going, were there any doubts along the way that you had, you know, once we got on the airplane and stuff, or was it pretty much a steady progression?
Trying to think. I think more so on the way to than the way from. It was just getting on the plane, and I was kind of too watching the time, like okay, how much longer, you know, getting from one moment to the next.
Yeah.
On the way back, it was much better.
Much better. Yeah. How about you, Gary? Even as good as the flight was going over there, was it better on the way back, or was it easier getting on?
It was both. I didn't, it's kind of funny that I'm kind of irritated with myself because I don't use all these tools that you give me. I haven't needed to. The harmonizer, I haven't played it once on the airplane because I just get, engaged in a conversation with you or someone else.
Yeah.
So I haven't needed to. So I'm like, God, all these little tools like writing left-handed or whatever, all these little things that I've learned here, I've never used one of them. Breathing through stuff, but I haven't felt like I needed to. They're there if I need them. I had a couple Xanax with me. I don't like taking medicine, but just in case. And I didn't take it. I didn't take it the last time. I don't like taking that stuff, but just in case.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny how that works. But this time, no, I felt pretty good going over there, and it was really cool because the flight going back we didn't have to wait a long time. We got right back on the airplane.
Yeah, and I think that's a key too. The thing I've noticed over the years is having one flight and then another one right after it. It really helps people kind of reset their fear a little bit higher and not get overwhelmed. The time in between is what makes where people have to reset and have issues with that. I was just about to say, hold it. I think I have to do some maintenance here. 1 second.
Uh-oh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, there's an old actor named W.C. Fields. He said, never try to act around kids and dogs. But Grayson, you're proving that wrong. You're absolutely mellow there. I'm really impressed. So nice job.
And the first time when I was on the flight,
I
was like, I don't want to go. I'm going for nothing. I'm not even gonna play in California. And then I'm actually lucky because I get to see you, and then I get to you teach me how to throw paper airplanes good, and yeah.
If I was any kind of meeting manager, we'd have had a video of you throwing those airplanes, but I didn't put that together here. But I'll put that up on Facebook so we can show how proficient you were. He was amazing out there.
I still
and you were sharing with those other kids out there. You showed those other kids how to do it too, right?
Yeah. And my airplane.
So you're a pretty good teacher.
My favorite airplane was the thing I drove the airplane on, but it's kind of cool because
it's very cool
because it goes it's like landing and then going up. Like when I throw it to ground a little bit, it doesn't go to the ground very much. When I throw it hard to the ground, it doesn't go really much, and then it starts to go back up like trying to land and then go back up.
And you had 2 words. I can remember rumbly. You said the flight was kind of rumbly on takeoff, which I thought was a really good description. What was the,
but
do you remember
rumbly on landing.
on landing? Okay. And what was the other word that you used to describe the flight? Do you remember that? I can't remember it, but it was equal.
Wobbly.
Wobbly. Wobbly. Yeah.
It was kind of wobbly when I was trying to
Yeah.
get up, but until it, and we were trying to go up, and then it felt, when we were like touching the clouds, it felt pretty good. I don't know why. And
Pretty
then,
good. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and before we took off, you kept wanting to close the window because you were like, I don't want to look out. I don't want to look
I
out.
don't want to look out when I go up. It's gonna be weird because
But you did look out.
yeah, I did look out. I tried to, but it it when you look
Well,
out and you're going up, it's cool.
that's an inspiration for a lot of people because some people don't want to look out the window either. And then when they get up there, but they say, "Oh, well, that's not so bad." So you did a good job on that. So
I liked it. I like looking out, and then coming back, I was showing Faye. I go, hey, look there's Dodger Stadium, there's
yeah,
downtown LA, there's the Griffith Observatory, and she's going, really? There's the beach or Santa Monica Pier. It was pretty cool. So I like it.
it is, and that's the irony for a lot of people I've worked with is they really like the concept of being in an airplane. They like the thought of being up like that and all that. But I think it's primarily the sensations that get triggered in you because it's a real reminder. And I've one of the things I've learned over the years is when people tell you that it's real, it's real. The feelings are real. It doesn't matter that you don't have whether you had a grizzly bear staring you down or whether you're anxious about taking off in an airplane. It's very real, and the emotions that come up are that as well. Well, so for the both of you, we'll wind this up. And what would you say to people out there? The one thing that people tend to tell me is, oh, they weren't really that afraid. They don't have it as bad as I do. And I in my heart, I don't believe that's true because I've seen both of you and I've seen so many people over the years that I know they're not faking it. And it's like, yeah, and I've had people get off the airplane and not go. So what would you say to people? Either one, Gary, you want to go first? What would you say to people that just feel like you did? Like, God, I just can't stand the thought of thinking about getting on an airplane.
I would just say, I get mad at myself sometimes, like, I'm gonna freaking
Yeah,
do this no matter what, and it's kind of funny that in the harmonizer, it kind of talks like, there's a couple spots in the harmonizer that talk, yeah, we're gonna get through this. So I have to, some of that self-talk, um, is, I kind of, there's a part of me like, I can do this, gosh darn, so I have
yeah,
to talk to myself in that way. But I would say, it's real for me. I know it's real for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm not as bad as some or worse than others. I don't know. Everyone's different. I know some people that haven't gotten on an airplane for, you know, 30, 40 years, and I would imagine that would be really, hard for them. But for me, it's just a process. And
yeah,
um, I gotta, I'll tell everyone who's out there, you're a really good teacher and you're really good um, listener. And, I think I asked you a long time ago, was like, what's the worst thing that you've ever had happen from one of your
right.
classmates? Like,
Yeah,
come on here, but even when people get really panicky up there, you distract them and you talk to them, and then you make yourself available. And anyone out there that wants to, move on with this, you know, pay the money or do whatever you need to do, talk to Ron, and there's ways to get over this. I mean, I'm not by any way, I'm not cured yet, but
no,
I'm getting a little bit better, and I'm going to keep flying. I keep telling my wife, I'm going to fly to Idaho with you. I mean,
yeah,
I retired and I should be traveling, and it
right.
irritates me. And I want to go to Cabo. I've never been. I've been to Hawaii. I've been to Mexico. I've been to a lot of places when I used to fly, but since all this happened, I haven't been flying, only twice with you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to get to a point where I can just go fly into Mexico or fly into Cabo, go over to Hawaii. My bucket list is to go to Tahiti. We'll see. I don't know. Nine
Wait,
out.
well, I got a son on a sailboat over there. He sailed across the Pacific last year. He's been over there a little over a year now, and I'm going to go myself. So maybe you can hitchhike with us.
Yeah, let me know when you're going. I'll tell you another thing about anticipatory anxiety. For me, and I'm just talking about my journey here. I thought it was only with flying.
Yeah,
It's not. When I drove to Boise, Idaho, because I didn't want to get on a plane a
sure,
week before, I'm thinking about all these scenarios. How if we break down on the car? How if we crash? How if this?
sure.
How I've never been on this road or that road or blah blah blah. And I had the same anxiety.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know.
And to me, when I listen to you and probably Carissa here in just a minute, but it's no surprise what you did for a living, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you want somebody, if you're talking about having an EMT, I'd want an EMT that's thinking constantly, it takes in past experiences and is trying to analyze constantly what's the best thing he can do for me if I'm in a crisis right then. And so the problem is when you get on an airplane, there's no crisis. So it's almost like we gotta manufacture one. And the other thing I wanted to respond to what you said is what I find a very common thing is people are so hard on themselves, and that's part of why I do this too, because I know I'm probably my worst critic is myself. So, and I tell people, give yourself a break. All it is just an irregularity in terms of your sympathetic nervous response. It just doesn't know how to take a break. So I'll throw it out to you, Carissa. What would you tell people out there? Particularly the ones that say, "Oh, you're not as bad off as I was."
Yeah, so not true.
Yeah, yeah,
The self-talk is huge for me.
yeah, yeah.
Also finding what really motivates me and like honing in on that is
Uh-huh.
really big deal. That's what kind of gets me over the hump. Um, and then, yeah, just I, I don't know. It's tough, but like Gary was saying, this is not the only place that the anticipatory anxiety affects.
Sure, sure.
It affects me in a lot of things throughout life. And I just found that when I can kind of overcome one thing, it's just moving on to the next thing and then just trying
Yeah,
to overcome that. And then the other thing too is like that first flight, I would not just the self-talk, but I'm also trying to give myself a little grace this time around.
yeah,
And I had
yeah.
never done that in the past. And this
Sure,
time I just
sure.
remember telling myself, I can do this. And even if I'm not feeling good, it's normal. Everything is normal. I just had to keep telling myself that. So,
Yeah. And when you talk about not giving yourself grace, when I got there, Irani was the first one there all by herself and stuff. And when I come up, and the first thing that I notice is she's a little anxious and stuff like that. If you could see inside my head, I'm not worried about flying. I'm worried about disappointing the people that I'm out there. And that's something I cannot tell you. 37 years ago, when I took the first flight with somebody, I thought I broke them permanently. I had a person broke down in the jetway, and I get to live it kind of, just because I feel I just don't want people to have a bad experience, and stuff. But I find that when people start talking to each other, two things happen. One, they start getting out of their own heads and getting into somebody else's. And two, I find relief in it. The best thing that happens is when I have more than two people flying with me, is because now it takes some of the pressure on me. So I feel I understand the same things. And when people said, why the reason you do this because you're a pilot and you got a master's degree and stuff like that. No, the reason I do this is because I got my own anxiety. just happens to be, I like teaching people. I like helping. I like the satisfaction, but it's really hard. First time, no matter what, when I start this thing today, I'm nervous about doing the right thing. And, pretty soon I just start talking and, people either accept it or they don't, and you just get over it. And I think that may be what you touch on too, is like, life is like that. Every day there's opportunities to balk and to worry about whether you'll be enough, whether people will like you and all that. But anyway, so I want to thank you. Gary, go ahead.
I just want to say a couple more things.
Yeah.
I know that you've told people, I've heard you say it in here, like, if you know you're going to fly, and I forget the time frame, but like prior to your flight, you should be listening to the harmonizer for, I don't know, what do you say, a month or two beforehand or something like that. Listen to the harmonizer or whatever. And then
Sure.
One of the things, that I'm like, oh, I haven't been listening to it. I didn't start a month out. Shoot.
Right.
Am I going to be, I'm not doing it
Well,
right.
Yeah, and that's the perfectionism in us. We all think there's a perfect way to do it, but just to respond to that, I tell people, if you haven't flown in a while, you don't have to do this 24/7, But when you get within 3 to 4 weeks, typically, and you'll kind of know when you start thinking and it's bugging you, in a way that it doesn't normally, then I suggest to people listen to it at night and in the morning. And the harmonizer, for those of you who don't, it's just a 32-minute audio program. And in response to what Gary said before, there is a part in there that says, I'm sick and tired of this and all that. And it's funny, I've been doing custom visualizations for people. And the first one that I did, the fella said, can you put something in there where it's kind of mildly scolding me for newness? And that's what we need. Just a positive, but an emphatic, come on, get over this and stuff. And the thing that I think is the most helpful, somebody told me, was, instead, it's helpful to listen to it at night and in the morning, but during the day, you don't have to listen to the whole thing. But if you have the opportunity and all of a sudden out of nowhere, you're starting to feel that anticipatory anxiety about a flight coming up, whatever, if you can put it on and listen to it just long enough until your brain gets bored with it, it will get bored with it. I guarantee you. So you listen to it for 3, 4, 5 minutes when you're being bugged during the day, just because to me, it's like practicing in a weight room. It's like lifting weights. You do reps in order to build up strength overall. So you don't have to listen to the thing during the day, the whole 32 minutes, but just do it in spurts like that. And just give yourself a break. If nothing else, give yourself 3 minutes of peace, because otherwise, you know what it is. It just keeps ramping up, and pretty soon you're all balled up in that. So anyway.
Hey, one last thing, Ron. Will you send me those videos that you took on the airplane of all of us?
I will. And for everybody, I've got a fella editing now, and he's going to put together a little trailer for us and things. And if you want the whole thing, because I was the cameraman, so I have to apologize in advance here. Next time, Grayson, we're going to let you take all the pictures. That'll be the best way. And I want to thank you, Grayson, for being not only during the flight, you were such an inspiration for me and other people there, but I love to watch you, how patient you are, and sit there and how you supported your mom. Okay. So thanks for going with us. And I really enjoyed meeting you. All right.
Hey, Ron.
So thanks. Yeah, go ahead.
Last thing, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That harmonizer, the technology, or what's that called? Where things in different ears, and what's it called?
Yeah, the name for it is bilateral stimulation.
That's what okay.
And what it does is it stimulates there's 2 hemispheres in the brain. Right. And so just stereophonic sound, when you listen in one ear and then listen to the other, it mimics the process that goes on during REM sleep when we dream. Okay. And it came from EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And that's where I got the idea. I thought, okay, if we can create that, and I'm doing that more now for some upcoming audios that I'm going to do. But just switching back and forth, it's just trying to make something more interesting to your psyche than the self-talk, that little chatterbox that's trying to scare the pants off of you. And that it's all it is. It's not any magic or anything, but it does seem to help. So anyway, well, thanks again. Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Carissa. I really appreciate you guys showing up, and it takes a lot of courage to do this. And Grayson, thanks to you again.
Yep.
Keep flying those airplanes. One day, maybe you'll be my pilot. All right.
And the first time I was a little scared, and then
Sure.
I was like, I'm over it. I'll try it and see if it's good. And then Mom said, "I'm ready. Are you ready for the flight?" And said, "Do the things, whatever you get on the flight." And then it was.
Well, I can't top that for inspiration. A little scared, and you did it anyway. And that's really what life's about. So I can't wait to see all the things that you do in your life. Okay. So thanks to you guys. Thanks to everybody out there. And next week we'll come back and do it again. So have a great week, everybody. Thanks, Carissa. And thanks.